This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
All right, welcome, guys. We got the boys from Xcavate here, Mike Taylor, Cody Pritchett.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming on the thing.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So, hey, a little introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. We had the infamous food fight of 2000 whatever, and now we're here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, currently Mike and I are partners. We have a third partner as well in Xcavate Mining. But me and Mike go back a far way. We're high school buddies. So, yeah, I mean, we've experienced a lot, but we're excited to talk with you today and kind of show our story and where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, both did missions, right?
Yes.
So, after your missions, what were the first jobs you guys had?
Knocking doors, baby. Yeah. I mean, I was used to knocking doors for free for 2 years, so it's like might as well go make some money doing it. So my dad actually owned a door-to-door company, and I mean, you get home from your mission, you're used to working hard full time, and I'm like, I got to get out of the house, I got to go work, and went out and did that first summer, and kind of fell in love with it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a different world. Anybody you talk to that's done door to door, it's a grind, but you make a lot of money in a short period of time. And did that for almost 5 years. So, got in and
Mike is the ultimate. Mike's humble about it. Mike is the ultimate door to door guy. Like he's like Mike can sell anyone. Mike could sell us on a pen.
Yeah.
Mike is one of the best salesmen I've ever met.
Yeah.
He freaking crushed it. Because I got back from a mission, I got married.
Yeah.
And I remember Mike going out and selling, and just like, I know Mike's crushing it. I could never get to go do it. I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
So.
No, when I got back from my mission, I got back in December, and then in January we went to college, right, down at UVU. And we went and talked to some recruiters for Apex at the time, but it's Vivint now, right? Yeah. And I cannot remember who was there, but I'm sure it was some of the big dogs. You're talking like 2003, right? And I'm in this meeting, and they're just talking about the money and like all this stuff, and I'm just like, no way in hell I'm knocking doors. Like, that's all I did for 2 years, all day long. I mean, it was like hundreds of thousands of doors were knocked.
Right.
And I'm just looking at these guys like, I can't do it.
Right.
I cannot do it. Now, 6 months later in the summer when they were all out there making money, I was kind of like, maybe I could knock doors,
When they get back and they're like, pockets are full.
And trucks and four-wheelers and all that crap.
I was working in a warehouse, and I got back, and they're all making money. I was like, just shipping things every day, just for $10 an hour. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, exactly.
My life.
The funny thing about door to door, at least for me, is I think what made me successful in door to door is I didn't do it for the money. Like when I first did, it was like I got to make some money, right? Like I was getting married, but once I got out there, it was all about the competition. It was all about, frankly, being the next guy.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the top rep. Like it was never about the money. And I think if it was about the money, you make so much in such a short period of time, even that first month, that you'll get demotivated so fast if that's the mentality. So I know this isn't a door-to-door podcast, but like for me, it's like if I would have been out there for the money, I would have been done after the first month.
Yeah.
But I wanted to win. I want to be the top rep, which we can talk about later what that led me into. 5 years of doing that isn't very healthy if all you want to do is just beat the next guy. So I learned that the hard way. But
did you end up like running with groups and building the whole thing underneath you and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I started just as a normal rep. What's funny is my dad owned the company, but he put me on the lowest pay scale. So
I know
best thing he ever could have done. Best thing he ever could have done. So I was like, come on, like let's work something out. But it's like, no, you're going to start at the very bottom like everybody else and work your way up. And so started as a normal door-to-door rep, just knocking doors, and then brought some guys out that year, and then managed a team the year after that, and then became a regional manager, and got to the point where I was off the doors, which was nice. But different passions led me out of it, and kind of was tired of the just straight achievement mentality.
Did you end up getting married while you were doing it?
So I got married right after my first summer. So I was engaged as I went out that first summer. Yeah. So that was a lot of the motivation too, is like, I have no money and I'm getting married that last day of summer. So I got to go make some money so I can take care of my wife. And
cool. Did you ever do college?
I did 2 semesters. Two semesters and then dropped out. So
you decided to go make some money. Good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Really good for you.
College of hard knocks. That was my college.
Yeah.
College
awesome.
is,
Did you end up doing college, Cody?
Yeah. So I got home from a mission. I got married so quick. And started going to college, and I worked at a warehouse for my dad. My dad owns King's Camo, so I was just a warehouse worker, just shipping shirts out every day.
Yeah.
Started college, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and so I was always like starting a new thing. Who knows? Every other month, trying to find a business that I like to do.
Yeah.
During that time, me and Mike actually started a Thai subscription company.
Oh, really?
Our first 2 semesters in college. But then with Mike going out and selling and me staying back, just kind of died down.
Yeah.
But so during that time, my wife had the idea of opening a bridal shop and having a full service salon side. So a one-stop shop for Look at Your Bridal Day. And me being an entrepreneur, I was like, I love it. Let's do it. So my wife and I, at the end of, I think it was 2016, started a bridal shop with a full service salon. So, and that's been going strong now for almost 6 years. So
she's still doing it, right?
Yeah. Her and her mom run that together, and now it's grown. They've crushed it.
Yeah.
And so it's been awesome watching that. And I helped kind of get off the ground, and then I started doing software sales over the phone. And then I took the journey of trying to do my own thing, which eventually led me down the path to where we are today with Mike. But that's kind of where I went from or came from. But entrepreneurship is so fun, but so hard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So did you finish college?
No.
Okay.
I was 3 credits away from my associates.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
What we do, and I mean, you guys know we're never going to need our college degree.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Business is more experience than college.
Yeah. Well, my degree is in pre-law, so I decided to commit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, after I got through generals, which is, the exact same as your last 2 years of high school, with a little more biology, which I'm glad I know this now.
Right.
But I learned contracts and a little bit of negotiation and mediation, and then some criminal law stuff. It was a real brief overview of the law and stuff. Right. But no, if you would have given me how much money I spent on that at the start of the 4 years and said, go start a business and invest, I would have found 2 mentors and gone and done it.
Right.
And got 4 years of my life back.
Right.
Right.
But law and doctors, things like that that's what college is for.
Yeah.
Those specific. But if you're going to get a entrepreneurship degree or a communications degree,
yeah,
experience in the field is a lot better. But
yeah. Well, I've done 2 podcasts with my brother Brett. Right. And he always likes to bust my balls about college because I just had this whole no.
Yeah. Right.
Well, what do you want to do with your life? Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. It ain't for you, dude.
Right.
That's not where you're going to learn your stuff, But if you're I want to be a neurosurgeon, it's yep, go to that school and best of luck to you. You know what I mean? But,
right.
Or, an engineer. That's another thing I think our country really needs is just way more engineers. Mechanical, civic, all of them, dude.
Right.
And so, that kind of stuff is really good.
Right.
So,
especially software developers, the whole world's going tech.
Yeah.
All of that's. If you want to make money, start your kids or have your kids make money just when they're 12-year-old. Put them in front of a computer and take some courses and start coding.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll have a job for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So
then we're doing some software sales, and then right after doing the summer sales, did you guys end up getting together?
Yeah. So not right away. So after door to door, so I went through that mentality of I want to make money, I want to win, I want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I fell into that trap of once I make this much, or once I win this competition, or once I'm the top rep and then the top manager and the top regional and the top rep and the top regional at the same time, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And every time it's nope, it was just 10 seconds of happiness getting on the stage, getting the award, and then I'm oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of a little come to Jesus moment after all that, and I was I can't just keep chasing the next thing. What do I really want? So yeah, I joined a personal development group, coaching group, and kind of really dug into this of what's my real why? What do I really want? What really makes me happy? And is there a way to do both? Is there a way to make a ton of money and still do what I want? Or do I have to knock doors for the rest of my life, or do, because I didn't necessarily love knocking doors, but I did love the competition aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love variety. So coming up on 5 years doing the same thing, it was getting tiring,
Yeah.
So yeah, so I went out of that and I went into high ticket coaching, personal development, and I really loved that. A big part of my why is meaningful conversations with things that matter most.
Yeah.
I just want to have meaningful conversations with people, and So yeah, kind of went into personal development, high ticket sales, and right around that time, as I was doing that, I had a lot of free time. I was just coaching some clients, and I was doing some consulting, and then I'd go to events and do some high ticket closing, and then kind of get into how me and Cody kind of started. But yeah, that's where I was before we started the company.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, I mean, this company has been going for almost 2 years now. So about 3.5 years ago, I was in software sales. And after my first son was born, in order to see his birth, they gave me 2 days. I had to use 2 days PTO. And it was just like, I was so mad. And things like, we started a bio business, but we're putting all the money back into it. But I was like, you know what, Tiff, I'm going to try, I want to start my own thing. So at the time, so like 4 years ago, I started my entrepreneurship journey. Like, what do I want to do? And it's interesting. So at that time when Mike got into coaching, he took me to a course or a 3-day retreat where it was like, find your why and what you're doing things for. And that changed my life. And from there, I was like, I'm just going to work hard and know what I want, why I'm doing it, and things will come to pass. So over the next 1.5 years, so me and our other partner, Joe, shout out to Joe, he's not here right now.
Yeah.
We started a little business, and it turned into selling on eBay and Amazon. People in Utah have probably done it. We started buying these pallets at an auction. You bid on them, and then you bring them in, and you can get some nice stuff in pallets, and you resell them on eBay or Amazon or whatever. So we started doing that, and we got a warehouse to do that. And people loved coming, just seeing all the stuff we got. It was really interesting. One's got a silencer in one of our, this isn't legal, but me, Mike, and Joe have always been high school buddies. So he's always been in contact. And over the years, we've always been talking about Bitcoin. And this is right when Bitcoin had just surpassed 20,000 for the first time. And Mike came to our warehouse and was talking to us, and Mike had actually bought a Bitcoin miner or a mining rig that he had some guy build him a while ago, and he started talking to us about it. And that got my wheels turned in my head. I was like, wow, what is Bitcoin mining, right? Mm-hmm. And so I looked on KSL for a Bitcoin mining rig, and I found one from a guy named Brock. And so me and Joe were still doing the Amazon sales or eBay sales, and I feel like I need to reach out to Brock. I reached out to Brock and I was like, hey, I'm interested in your mining rig. He's like, oh, someone's coming to buy it later tonight. If you want to come before, then I'll give it to you. Like first come, first serve. So I was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I went to Brock's house, and he showed me his mining rig. He had 6 GPUs on a mining rig that was mining Ethereum. And I thought I was just going to pick it up, take it back and plug it in and be mining. But I was there for 5 hours, and he said some really interesting things to me. He was like, hey, if you're able to put 30 80s on one of these rigs, it would be insane. And the 5 hours, he showed it to me and what it was doing. And so I was like, wow. So I took it back, got plugged in, and talked to Joe, and was like, we should build one of these rigs with 3080 graphics cards on it. And so that was right at the beginning of 2021. So 18 months ago. And we built one, and we only had enough money to pay for one. And it was, at the time, that 8-card rig was doing almost $2,000 a month in earnings through mining. And so holy cow, this is crazy, how can we get more of these? But we'd have money. So we posted on KSL saying, hey, we'll build you a mining rig, and then we'll do a 20% fee on top, and then we'll just take our earnings and use that to buy more of our own rigs. So we posted on KSL, and that first week, we had so many people reach out, and we ended up selling 4 rigs. And the price was at the time, $20,000. So we made $80,000 or had $80,000 in sales that week. And the prior 6 months before that, we did $70,000 in sales. Yeah. And we surpassed that in the first week, and we're like, holy cow, we have something here.
Yeah.
This is exciting. But those guys that bought those first rigs were like, hey, can you guys just keep them here at your warehouse? Or, they're like, I'm not really tech savvy. I don't know what to do with it. Can you guys keep them for us? And we're like, yeah, we can. But then we, doing the power calculations and all that stuff, it's okay, we can't keep them in the warehouse, and we can't put them in my basement. And so we took off KSL because we're like, we need to figure out how we're going to grow this, or like if we want to actually keep selling these and host them for people or manage them. And at the time, so we started searching like, where can we get power? And it was data centers. So we went and met, I think, with 4 different data centers. But data centers had previously worked with miners prior to when Bitcoin crashed in 2017 and went down to $3,000. And everyone's like, oh, we don't work with miners anymore. Because they're using ASIC miners and those pull a ton of power.
Yeah.
But finally we found one here in Orem that was like, hey, the owner of it was actually familiar with GPUs and was willing to sit down with us and understand our situation. And they have like a suite, like one specific room. So it's not like mixed in with all the other computers. And he's like, I'll give you that room. So like, great. We have space and power and we grow this. So March of last year, so 2021, we put it back on KSL. In that first month, we did over 400,000 in sales. And it was like, holy cow. But me and Joe, I mean, I have a vision and I'm like, oh, let's do this. And Joe's our technical guy in building this, but like we really need help in sales and growing this and managing this. And Mike at the time had been around. He gave us the idea and Mike can explain this to you, but like it was literally destiny. But Mike was in a position where he could come on, but we brought him in and we're like, Mike, we need your help. We want you. We actually had 2 meetings. The first meeting he left and I was like, I don't think Mike understood how bad we need him. I was like, because me and Joe were sitting there and I was like, oh, we need Mike. Like, I can't imagine trying to do sales and all this stuff without someone like Mike on our team. So we brought him back in like, Mike, we want you to be a partner and help grow this. And Mike came on. Yeah, like I think it was at the end of March, beginning of April, and just kind of took over the sales and managing and growing that side. And just, since then it's been wild. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like at the start of it. And then, we'll kind of get more into details of what's happened over the last, 15, 18 months. But
yeah.
A funny detail about this is, like Cody mentioned, I had a rig in 2018.
Yeah.
So I was buying Bitcoin kind of the middle of 2018.
So quick question, do you still have that rig?
I don't. That's the most frustrating part is like I can get an exact, I don't know where it is. Like,
oh really?
We moved, I had it what's funny is I had it in my office, where I was doing door to door. And it's like when we moved offices, like I left, I was still working with them, but I left and they had somebody come in and clear stuff out. And to this day, nobody knows where it is. I wish I did.
We need to track it down.
This thing was, it was janky, man. So, because I was buying Bitcoin in middle of 2018, whatever, and then I started hearing about mining. I'm like, how can I get a miner? And I heard about GPU mining. I knew it was pretty profitable, and I was really into Ethereum at the time. I was like, I want to get a Bitcoin miner. I want to get an Ethereum miner. So we had a guy that actually was working for us that was knocking doors that used to be, I don't know if he's a technical engineer, but he's a tech guy at Novell. And I was like, hey, man, we'll pay you, X amount, however many hours it takes. We'll pay for all the parts. Just watch YouTube videos and build us one of these rigs. So it literally took like probably 3 months, and we got back this plywood rig. Like it was literally on plywood and like just janky. But hey, it worked. And what I did realize at the time though, so he gave it to me, set it up, gave me my wallet, whatever, and it's like red light would turn on and it was blinking, and then I didn't see Ethereum coming in anymore. I'm like, hey man, this thing's not working anymore. Can you come back? And so you have to come back, and or he couldn't come back or he didn't have time, so I'd be down for a week or two at a time. And so I already knew there was a gap in the marketplace of like, there's a really high barrier of entry into this thing.
Yeah.
And they're extremely difficult to manage, and there's got to be other people like me.
Yeah.
That would love to invest into mining, would love to be mining, but they don't know how, or they don't have the time, which is more importantly. It's like, I'm sure if I sat down for 2 weeks and was like, I'm going to figure out how to fix this thing, I probably could have figured it out eventually, maybe, but I just didn't have the time. And so as these guys approached me, I was like, I know there's a gap in this marketplace. I know there's probably people like me. I felt that pain of like, my rig is down and I'm losing Ethereum every single day that I can't get it up.
Right.
So
every second.
Every second. I was like, I know there's a solution you guys are providing. So that intrigued me for sure. And obviously I believe in the technology of it all. And
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was literally perfect. Mike having that understanding of like the pain points of a rig without, because in the end people were buying because we provided a solution to help them not have to manage it. Yeah. It was just, we try to keep them running 24/7. They go down. There's updates on them. There's hard drive updates. We now have 4 full-time tech guys that are just managing them and doing all that. But that was kind of what we realized there's a gap in the marketplace with GPU mining. Because Bitcoin mining, I mean, you can get into ASIC mining, and there's a lot of benefits to ASIC mining. Biggest benefit being the maintenance is minimal.
Yeah.
But GPU mining, it's a computer. You could watch YouTube on it if you wanted.
Yeah.
So when there's Windows updates or hard drive updates, you've got to have someone pushing those through, making sure they're on check. But when we got into, GPU mining was so profitable that everyone was trying to get into it. Yeah. And we were the only ones we know of that provided the solution of building your rig and then hosting it at a large scale. So, as today, our goal, over the year, we're now in 6 different locations because we use all the power in that data center. But then being with one data center allowed another data center to be open to it.
Yeah.
So we're in 4 data centers and 2 warehouses, just wherever we could find power.
Yeah.
And now we're working on just consolidating it into one location, but it's been, the last year has been, running this business has been more education than an 8-year education.
Yeah.
Just like dealing with the market turns of Bitcoin currently, but like when we first started, March, April of that year, there was a chip shortage. I don't know if everyone remembers when there was a chip shortage.
Oh yeah.
But that was one of the biggest things we had to deal with was all these graphics cards we have in order are taking longer to get here. How do we do it? Which we made the decision, usually you buy in bulk from a supplier, but we might be 6 to 8 months out, and we had to make the decision, which we did was we're going to make less margin on the sale, and we're going to buy these all at market value off of
market.
eBay and StockX. We're now the number 8 most highest buyer on StockX out of 9 million portfolios.
You guys buy a lot of them.
Right. So, but we made that decision because it's we just want to take care of our clients. We didn't want them to have to wait 6 months. And we knew if we were willing to eat the margin and do that, we'd have clients for life. And so that was one of the many things we kind of overcome. But we're to a point now where it's calmed down a lot, and we know our processes and our systems. And so that's really helped us to just kind of scale to where we're at.
Yeah. So explain to the viewers or the listeners, right, the difference between an ASIC miner and a GPU miner.
Yeah. So biggest thing, ASIC. So, if you start with the beginning of Bitcoin mining, the easiest way to understand mining is we're the ones processing the transaction. We're the Visa.
Yeah.
So when you send Bitcoin, someone's got to process that to make sure there's Bitcoin available. When they first started, you could mine Bitcoin on a laptop back in 2009 because there's no one on the network. You were the one confirming all those.
Yeah.
But with time, it's split because more and more people got into Bitcoin mining. And so these companies in China started building an ASIC miner, what does an ASIC miner stand for?
The biggest thing for an ASIC miner is it just mines 1 or 2 algorithms blindly. So instead of building this supercomputer that can do multiple things and mine different coins, they are okay, we need a more powerful computer. Let's just build it to only be able to do 1 or 2 things.
Yeah.
And obviously by doing that, you can use all the processing power to just mine that one coin. So most ASIC miners are either Bitcoin miners specifically. Some are, I guess there is a lot of Ethereum ones out there too, but they're known for being the most powerful computers, and they're pretty basic. You get these things and they're just this big, ugly silver box.
Yeah.
Basically what they look like. Or we're building this immaculate, 8-card rig, if you will.
Yeah, it's got the rainbow LED.
It's got the rainbow LEDs.
It's all pretty and mystifying.
Right, exactly. And they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
I truly don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It just depends on what the strategy is.
Yeah. Almost depends on which cryptocurrency your client likes, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. A big thing is, these ASIC miners, they're built to do one thing, so there's no intrinsic value. But it depends, do you believe Bitcoin is the future? Which we do. So it's it's worth it to get a Bitcoin mining ASIC.
Yeah.
Where if you got an ASIC that was mining Ravencoin or a Dogecoin, it can't pivot to new coins.
Yeah.
But these GPUs that we use gives you the option to mine Ethereum, Ravencoin, Dogecoin. Because it's a computer, if there's a new coin that comes out, we can jump onto it.
Yeah.
So ASIC, it's more centralized and focused on that one coin, which Bitcoin ASICs are the best, the way to go if you're going ASIC.
Yeah.
And the GPUs allow you to take advantage of all the other altcoins, which Ethereum had its big run up. And, if there's a metaverse or other things, you can take advantage of that with GPU. But
typically an ASIC will provide you a faster return on your investment, where a GPU actually holds intrinsic value. People like to hedge that if things go south and crypto is not a thing in 3 years, I can liquidate my GPUs to gamers or to people that are buying them, where nobody's ever going to buy an ASIC because all it can do is mine.
Right.
So it has no intrinsic value besides mining. So if the market tanks and mining's not profitable, you have no way to liquidate that and get any of your original investment back.
Yeah.
So once again, two different strategies. If you're bullish, like Cody said, on Bitcoin, ASIC makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you have the power to do so,
right.
Where GPUs are much longer term. 8 to 10 year lifespan on a GPU mining rig versus an ASIC is typically, for a profitable lifespan, maybe 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be longer depending on what the market's doing, but that's what we like to be our safe ranges.
Right. One thing that's kind of funny about this is, I'll let everyone know, is I used to think crypto was the stupidest shit ever until I spoke with Cody. Cody, you guys are the first guys that I remember we met, a while ago. I sat down and I was like, oh, I understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, it actually makes a lot of sense of why you would do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And, so, in the last 2 years, I've really become more amenable to cryptocurrency just in general. I still think still think there's a ton of coins that are absolute garbage. And,
right. Especially,
and we can joke about NFTs here in a minute too.
Yeah, with the current market,
we don't talk about it.
The current market, it's really tumbled a lot of people. It's like, because people were in Luna literally went to zero. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's the biggest thing about crypto is it was created to be decentralized. Mm-hmm. Like, no governing body, no one deciding the things, no one able to destroy it like Luna was destroyed. And there's a founder to it. That's why Bitcoin is so beautiful, because no one knows who Satoshi is, and no one ever will. There's no, it would destroy Bitcoin because people will base their belief off of Bitcoin based on who the founder is. Mm-hmm. But the way it was created was so perfect, and how it grows and the rewards are how the Bitcoin is released into the system. And it's really a decentralized system in terms of you need miners, you need people providing the computer power. So
there's no emotion in machines. It's like, if you want it to run a certain way and it makes sense, it's like you don't have emotional human beings coming in and saying, I don't like this, or I like that, or you don't have ill intentions coming from the top down, deciding what a currency does, which not all cryptocurrency is that way. I think people assume that all cryptocurrency kind of works the same. It's like, actually, Bitcoin really is one of the only true decentralized platforms that doesn't have somebody from the top down, which that can be a good thing too, either way. You could have somebody that's really amazing from top down that knows what they're doing. But, I think the longer term, safer way is to have a decentralized platform. It, brings, I think, a little more freedom in people's payment processing and what they do with their money, their assets,
See, the way I look at crypto is similar, right? I look at crypto and I think, we've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a standard, right? That's going to be fine. And sometimes I look at Ethereum and Solana, or Solana, however you say it, right?
Right.
I look at those and I'm like, are those my MySpace or are those my Facebook?
Exactly.
Right? Or are they my TikTok? Because TikTok's way better than all of them. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I look at all those other currencies and I go, because what people don't really understand is that they're actually they're software, right? And they represent a utility, Right. So people want to trade them like we're trading yen and USD, and which created some wealth, last year, and then this year, everyone's acting like they're going bankrupt because their imaginary money disappeared, And it's like,
yeah, that's the beautiful thing with what you said was perfect. Like, crypto is a software. And the thing is, Bitcoin is the first in terms of Bitcoin is like a currency. That's what its use case is a store of value.
Yeah.
But then you have Ethereum where it really does, it allows you to build on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. So you can buy Ethereum and trade it as a coin and use it as a coin, but attaching an image or something of likeness to a blockchain transaction. So from the beginning, it's just imagine a car with a Carfax. The car is created, it has a VIN number, and you can see what's happened to the lifespan of that car. Mm. It's Ethereum allows you to be you create something on the blockchain, but you can attach an image to it. You could attach sound to it, but it's created from day one. And every time it's traded or changes wallets, it's like a Carfax or history report on that thing, which is the use case behind that could be huge, you know, behind contracts or Carfax themselves, if you put the car on, you know, the blockchain.
Yeah.
And there's things like that are really beautiful, and like the software could really help, you know, take the country or just take the world forward in terms of decentralized transactions and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, like, we really got to, like, this last year, people started understanding that, and that's what allowed it to take off. But then the market turned, and everyone's like, well, everyone has a big question mark whether it has, like, what's going on, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time to people adapt, for people to see the use case behind it. But we're still so early.
Yeah, just kind of piggyback off of being a software, we get asked obviously constantly, what coin are you buying, or what's the next big thing, or most people look at mining, or not even mining, but just cryptocurrency in general, as a way to get rich, you know, and that's just, I don't think that's a good strategy for anything. It's like play the long game. You know, I think the Warren Buffett saying is, like, if you're not going to hold it for 10 years, don't buy it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my Bitcoin strategy. But in terms of the software, it's like when people ask me that question, I go, treat it like any stock. It's like, who's the team, and do I believe in the company? You know, like, not do I believe this coin is going to go up because it's a cool name. Like, that doesn't work, you know, and it can work for a short spurt, right? And you can make some good money. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I always go, who's the team? You know, who's the team behind this project? What's their use case? Like, what are they doing to disrupt the industry? And that's where you get some of these Solanas that, you know, they have an amazing team, and they have technically something that could take over Ethereum one day potentially. You know? And I'm not promoting that, but it's like, that's the way I think you have to look at crypto. And if you don't, I think that's where people get in trouble, is somebody told them that this will be the next coin, and they don't do their own research and find out the team behind it. But I'm a believer that if it has an amazing team that you know is behind it, they'll figure it out. You know, if things go south, they'll figure it out. But if it's just a hype coin, you have no promise.
Right.
Well, yeah, and some of the hype coins, man, I mean, they've made, well, here's the thing. I want to say they've made a lot of people a lot of money, not the ones that held them and now they're holding the bag.
Right.
You know what
It's
I mean?
the ones that timed it right, which, how do you time it?
Yeah, it's like OTC pink slip traders, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
It's just like, you know, I played in that market a little bit and, you know, won and lost way more than I won. You know what I mean? Because like, same with stock market right now, you know, I have a large stock portfolio, or depends on your perspective, right? But, you know, for me, it's pretty big. And, you know, a lot of people are like, what did you sell? What did you sell? And I'm like, just all my high tech, stupid stocks, you know, just the high, you know, and then everything else, I'm just riding it, you know? I mean, I own a ton of Amazon, but I bought most of it when it was like $250 a share. So unless I want to get absolutely obliterated with taxes, right? I just got to ride it, you know? So, and I think it's the same way with cryptocurrency, you know? I mean, you got to pick your winners and, you know when they're not, and, you know, hopefully you pick the good ones. And I mean, I own 2, right? Well, I own 3. I own 4. I got Polkadot, Solana, and then Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? But I mean, 85% of it's in Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Right. That's what I would recommend to everyone. Like, those 2, I trust.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bitcoin will always be the baby. Bitcoin will always be here. And Ethereum, the use case behind it is so amazing. Like, yes, Ethereum. So those 2 are like, when people are like, because I used to get into smaller coins, but people ask me now, it's like, main one is just Bitcoin, and Ethereum is my next one. But it's a long game. Like, the thing is, like, people got excited at crypto, and they're like, oh, because crypto in the last 4 years, it had 100x returns on some of them, but it's like, you can see huge returns in the long game, in the, you know, an 8 to 10 years horizon. Like, you've got to just be committed to the long game, because as soon as the use cases come out and it's more adapted, like from now to 8 years from now, you're like, you're going to see some huge gains, but it's not going to be a 3-week pump. But it is a great play, in my opinion. So,
well, I look at blockchain too and NFTs specifically. Like one thing, NFTs are funny. Do you guys ever watch the Nelk Boys podcast or the Full podcast?
Yeah.
Did you see that thing where George is just like, F you, F you and your NFTs. I've heard about it forever. I don't care how much money you lost. Oh my gosh, I watched it like 4 times. I was dying,
So
right? Because it's so funny.
He's like the only one that didn't get in.
Yeah, he's the only one that didn't get in.
That's all they talk about for how long.
And so, but I look at NFTs and I'm like, dude, they're smart contracts. Like these are the greatest things ever.
Right.
You know, it's like DocuSign on another universe with like steroids, and
Right.
that's all we need. You know,
Right.
and you know, you know some of the things I'm working on with NFTs. You know, to actually sell product with NFTs. Right.
Right.
And I'm like, when that actually becomes mainstream, I mean, dude, you're not going to need banks, really. You're not going to need real estate agents. You're not going to need car dealers.
title companies.
Yeah, mortgage companies are just going to all be, they're going to be nameless, faceless parts of the blockchain.
Right.
You know, you and I could buy and sell a house with financing, with the deed, the utilities, everything, boom, in one transaction. I always joke around when we tap phones, right? Because there's no real
Right.
event that starts it other than like send. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think we're that far away.
Right.
I really don't.
Right.
You know?
The thing I mean, anytime you see a big correction like this, it's exciting if you've been through it. If you haven't been through it, it's the scariest thing ever. I mean, when I bought in 2018, I started buying a lot when Bitcoin was at 17, 18, 19,000, and literally within, I think it was 3 months, it went down to 3,000.
Yeah.
So my whole portfolio just tanked, you know, and at that point I'm like, you know, I had somebody give me that quote. They're like, if you're not going to hold it for 10 years, don't hold it for 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'll hold it. I won't sell it.
Did you hold?
And I held it.
Very good.
And I still have it. And it's like, that was a very emotional ride until I decided to just not be emotional anymore. But what I did notice through that last winter is that's where people build. The big companies and the smart players in cryptocurrency, when there's a big correction like this, they put their heads down and they build. Because they know that the next pump, not even the next pump, but the next
it's the next run.
this is just a small correction and the next run will come. And that's where we're at right now. We're seeing this big correction and it's such an amazing time to get in.
Well, and
entry point.
Yeah, and you guys know about my whale, right? The guy I always talked about, right? He wants to remain nameless, so we will. But you know, he is so unemotional with it. And he's just like, I mean, like anytime I can text him and just be like, yeah, I'll be at this dollar amount by Saturday, you know, or Sunday night or whatever, right? And he's 100% right. And you know, he basically told me, he goes, dude, if that thing hits 17,000, you go crazy. Not financial advice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it is just like that's the bottom. You
Right.
know?
Yeah,
And so
that's what I've heard.
Right.
I've heard 15 to 17.
Right.
Yeah.
Not financial advice either, but it's like, that's very, very, I would say, spoken about lately is that number, 15, 17 range.
Well, and we have to be, you know, and we have to be very careful when we talk about this kind of stuff, right? Because people will like latch on to any number you give them, which creates this hysteria in the market anyways.
Right.
You know?
I think it's been interesting owning a business in the crypto industry. I mean, our every single day life is crypto.
Yeah.
So it's like for the last 18 months, it's been crypto every single day. And we started in a bull market. And it's like sales freaking crushed it and people were wanting to jump in. Things like if we'd started 2.5 years ago and got everyone up, they would have been able to take advantage of the biggest bull market of mining, which was technically the first 6 months of last year. But right now, like with the price down, like profitability, like you're still making money mining, but it's not as great as it was. And people are asking us like, you know, like, what's your thoughts? And it's like, I've never been more excited.
Yeah.
Like right now, like to get in is when you want to get in. And our prices are coming down for parts, and like the cost to get into mining even right now is so much cheaper than it was a year ago. That it's like, if you believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum going off, like we just talked about all the use cases behind it, it's like that really is the future. Mining is going to be fueling that. And so it's like right now, it's like as hard as it may seem because prices are down and sentiment's low, it's like right now is the time to get in.
Yeah.
Because I mean we're transitioning into ASIC miners, and you know, current ones we have, we're selling them for pretty much, technically we're selling them $9,000 and the cost them was $19,000 6 months ago. But now it's because the market's down, people aren't buying them, it's like everything's dropped in price. And this miner is still as good as it was 6 months ago if Bitcoin were to go back up to, you know, $40,000.
Yeah.
And it's just, the opportunity right now is so great where it's like, it's exciting. So, I mean, people are like, they'll call us and be like, what are your thoughts? And it's like, this is exciting time. Like, we believe in the future of the utility. what it can do. Like, I'm not going to put my name on prices, but I know what Bitcoin and Ethereum can do, and we're still in the beginning.
Yeah.
50.
I think that's the biggest thing about this with the majority of people we talk about is they feel like it's too late. It's like, oh, I already missed the big run up, and that's like, this is the same thing people were saying when I was buying it at 18,000 in 2018. Like, everybody's like, we already missed it. Like, it's too late. When it goes back down, I'll buy some. And it goes back down and nobody buys any, and then they wait till run up, and then and I just think we are still so early on the technology aspect of it.
Yeah.
We may not be early on the hype aspect of it, but we are very early on the technology and the use case of it actually being used in the real world by the majority of the people.
I don't think we're early on the hype. When Bitcoin hits 500,000, you're going to see people just going bananas.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's going to make some billionaires.
Yeah. And the exciting thing is, I mean, I talk about mining because that's our everyday, but like right now, the cost to get into mining is so good. It's like when people are like, I missed the mining hype or the mining train, but it's like, if Bitcoin were to hit $500,000 in the next 6 years, mining was the best decision of your life. Because you're accumulating more. Like, if you put $20,000 into mining or $20,000 into Bitcoin, you can accumulate more Bitcoin through mining. But it's just, I get excited when I'm talking about it because it's like it is going to have a run up. Yeah. It is the future, and we're still at the beginning stages of it all. So I don't know, I can keep talking about how excited I am. But
I mean, we're one of those companies. We are in that place where price is down, hunker down. I can't give out the exact location, but central Utah, we just purchased 180 acres. We're going to be able to get up. We actually got it, and we're going to get up to 80 megawatts is actually what we can max out at, which is more than enough. So we're super excited over the next 2 years to just build this thing up and fill that property up. And
I agree with you.
Yeah, we feel like it's a great entry point.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to touch on, which is kind of funny, right, is my listeners will find this fun. My investment group tried to buy part of your company, right?
Right.
And we're still good friends.
Right.
It did not happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of my knowledge in crypto actually comes from you guys. It's funny. So when you're telling me these things, like, I agree with you 100%. It's fun talking to you guys and seeing your company and like the stuff that you guys can do. I still think it's a great investment, And so, but let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, Mike, you go. What are your thoughts on that whole thing?
Where do I start? I mean, first of all, I think I learned a ton about funds, private equity, contracts,
lawyers, attorneys,
letter of intents. I feel like I got an education on all that in and of itself. And I think at least on our end, how it shook out is like, we love you, Mark. I think anybody that gets to know you realizes, dude, how can you not love Mark? And I think where our business was at in that point, it's like there was a lot of, I think, fear on our end of do we want to give away equity, and should we wait? And because of that, it led us to a point of taking too long, and I think being too skittish on selling equity, and.
I mean, I believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I love that we're still friends because, who knows what the future entails. But a large part of this is, last year, I mean, the talks first started, in November, December?
Something like that, yeah.
And it was in the hype. And the thing is, as a company owner, young company owner, we've only experienced the hype. And so it's like, wow, we're going to freaking grow to the moon. And it's it was interesting because you guys and other people that were people calling us every day, interested in investing or getting involved.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting because, it took long and in the end didn't work out. But now that we're down market, it's really helped us see what the market feels towards crypto and mining.
Yeah.
And, had we gotten the capital, maybe it would have been spent on places that weren't, or maybe just miners or something. But having felt that, it's I feel like we're already in a better place, and we know this is what the market needs, and this is where the money can be well spent. and which will help us prepare because it might be 2 years till the next bull run, but building now and the infrastructure is what's needed.
Yeah.
I go off gut feeling in a lot of things, and I think you're that way too, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think we've had a little bit of this conversation. It's like, what's interesting about that is if we'd have gone through with that, we would have paid way too much for miners at that time frame, probably.
Right.
But our whole focus was get as many miners as possible and just mine. Where that's turned on us as we've done a lot of market research on these companies that are getting acquired, these mining companies that are getting acquired by, massive billion-dollar funds or multi-billion-dollar funds, and it's infrastructure. Infrastructure is everything.
Yeah.
And so what we did is instead we kind of changed our mindset a little bit of like, if we have the infrastructure, we can do whatever we need.
Yeah.
We can get acquired, we can literally grow as big as we want, but without that, you kind of have nothing in mining. If you don't have the cooling and power, which we are kind of like, I think of the mentality of let's just accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, which is still a huge part of our strategy, but we've kind of turned that to let's get as much infrastructure as possible so that we can get the miners to accumulate even more than what we are planning on. Or if we want to take money at that point, we have the infrastructure to support. 80 megawatts that's big fun, and
Right. It's interesting because like when it was hyped, everyone was getting mining. We were selling miners out the door. People were calling us. People were interested in the company, and it was like everyone's looking for infrastructure. I would probably get 4 or 5 emails a week that found our website, Xcavate Mining's website, asking for hosting for their ASICs. I've gotten like one a month in the last little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's such a big hype when it's hot. The people need it and they jump in. Mm-hmm. So kind of the thought behind it is like, if we can not wait till it gets hyped, like, oh, let's build infrastructure. Like, let's pull 80 megawatts. Let's get the infrastructure here. And when Bitcoin does the hype again, all these companies that are, because like each time there's a bull run, there's new companies jumping in. This time, you had like your JP Morgan jumping in. You had your hedge funds actually getting into it. Mm-hmm. But like next bull run, there's going to be everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, where's infrastructure? Where's megawatts? I want miners.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, here's what we've been building over the last 2 years, which is infrastructure, and it's ready.
Yeah.
It's kind of
An interesting point about that too is the people that were reaching out when it was hyped were smaller buyers. There was a lot of smaller buyers where now the ones that are reaching out, because what's funny is our sales or the revenue we're bringing in is actually, it's pretty close to what it was, but it's just big buyers. Big buyers coming in, they understand, and I think there's a lesson to be learned there that it's like, the ones who've created massive wealth understand that this is a buying opportunity.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the smaller one-offs that would maybe buy one rig, they're skittish.
Yeah.
But the big ones that want to come in and buy 80 to 100, 200 at a time, they're the ones that are knocking on our door. Same with hosting. Those are the ones that are coming and going, I have 200 miners I want you guys to host.
Yeah.
Where we are getting calls all the time in a hot market with people with 1 miner or 2 miners. And it's like, it doesn't really make sense to us,
Yeah.
So that's what we're excited about now is we know that the big buyers understand that, and frankly, they're great to work with, and and I think as it gets a little hotter, we'll see a lot of those smaller buyers come back in. And,
very cool.
So
I honestly love that you brought this up because it's like, it's fun to talk about, but it's like, like I said, like everything happens for a reason. Where it's like maybe we keep those talks up, but like I think a talk right now between us would be so much more. We know a lot more. We understand the industry. We've done an up market and a down market. The nice thing about mining and what we do is technically the price of Bitcoin doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
We sell the rigs and we host them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have company miners that are dependent, but like our main business model isn't dependent on that as long as we keep people's rigs up and they're paying us. So, but
you guys have a beautiful hybrid. Between that stuff. You have basically hardware sales. Right. Then you have hosting revenue, right? And then you have your own stuff,
right?
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah, it's been.
I loved it.
Yeah, it is. That's last year, like Mike said, like attorneys and everything. But we've talked a lot about how much we appreciate you, and like it was never like it was just great talks, and it was just trying to come to understandings. And I think attorneys had more opinions than we did.
Yeah.
But we were so appreciative of how we handled it, and like you asked to come on your podcast, and I freaking love Mark.
Dude, for sure. No, it was a good experience for us too. Obviously love you guys. Freaking had to get my 40th birthday party. Your wife was pregnant at my 40th birthday party too.
Both of our wives.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were both pregnant at the same time. Yeah, I do remember that. think I remember most that night. But yeah, dude, no, it's. I mean, I've talked about this before, you know, because you engage people in their business, you know, and then it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, hard negotiations and stuff. Like, I don't even think it was a hard negotiation. You know what I mean? Most of the time, I think it was. It was more probably a timing issue at the end of the day. You know,
as I look back, that was 100% it. That timing thing.
Yeah.
Where I think that was meant to be, because if they would have gone through, they still would have been extremely profitable, but it wouldn't have been as good as an opportunity as it is now, at least the entry points, because the market changed right after that time.
Yeah, and I'm a huge relationship guy. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because I'm 40 now and I'm super old and stuff, right? But like, I just, you know, like there's so many other things that we can do over the years. It's just like, hey, let's see if this works, and if it doesn't, it didn't work. You know, I think we even talked about that at the beginning, right? I was just like, 100%. Hey guys. Like we'll try and do this. We'll get the money, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll still be friends. You know, I'm sure I said that because I said it to everybody.
You did. You know, that's what spoke to us too. It's like he gets it. You know, relationships are everything, and if it's not in this, it'll be for sure something else. And if it's not ever a business endeavor, it's like we're great friends. You know.
Right. Then I'll make you guys pay for golf or dinner and stuff.
Dinner. And
No, I love it, man. And so, so what do you guys think the biggest challenges are now, like going forward with your business? Because I mean, you're young business owners,
right?
You know? Which comes with, you know, like with me, I did a lot of entrepreneurial stuff in my 20s, right? Lost a ton of money, made some money, buried some businesses, sold some businesses. You know, like my 30s and on, I've done pretty well. You know, but like you kind of got to learn your mistakes and stuff along the way. I mean, are you guys? Where do you feel like you're at in that timeline?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is through Mike's, you know, door and running a door company, and me running my bridal business and my other companies, like it's given us a lot of experience in terms of businesses, because it's like I fought for, you know, I didn't have money for a year prior to this taking off, and even when it took off, I 8 months without paying, is because like finally I have something that works.
Yeah,
and so. We know what we have, which has been huge to like me and Mike really getting on the same page. Like, okay, like let's take care of it and plan for it. And it's like, are we going to be Bitcoin miners next 15 years? Probably not. You know, do we want to be acquired? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But right now, you know, the challenges are like, which has been the last 6 months, is like, what is the market needing for our industry? Because it was before, it was like, let's just try to handle all sales, and we're just selling, and now it's like, okay, like margins, like our monthly revenues through hosting fees, like how do we get that to a point, like we want to get our company to a point where it's like we could walk away and it just still makes a profit because the margins are there in terms of hosting. And so I think the biggest thing right now is figuring that out. Like, how do we like take what we've got in this big, huge thing, and like, how do we now like really refine it into a point that allows us to, you know, either exit, but like not have it be our. I mean, it's 60 hours a week right now.
I can name pretty clearly, I think, one of the largest challenges, and I think this is probably in any business, but for us, especially in cryptocurrency, it's how often it changes the industry. And so we've had to learn to be extremely flexible.
Yeah.
And not just on our strategy, but on our mindsets of like, if the market changes, like in this industry, you cannot be set on what you believe works.
Yeah.
You've got to be extremely flexible on what the market is saying. And you can't just, I think, plan on what's working today, but obviously you have to plan on what's going to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's been a big thing, is was our big moment is, you know, we have a model that's working, but what's going to work best 2 years from now? You know, and that's where we kind of shifted to this infrastructure stage of like, let's build for the future, not just continue building today.
Yeah.
To what works today, and it is working today. So I think forecasting has been a big thing, a big challenge. Right. I think for any new entrepreneur is just learning how to forecast correctly.
Yeah.
And reading the markets on what's going to be profitable down the road.
Yeah.
Not just what's working today. And I think it's been a challenge. It's really difficult to have to change your model consistently all the time.
Yeah.
Even especially while it's still working, knowing that, hey, it's worth it, because, you know, right now we could buy a ton of miners and just, that works today, you know, but we want to build what's better for the future. And I think having that moment and kind of going through that growing pain that first year to figure that out was really challenging.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the things that I actually am good at is business strategy, you know, and it's, mostly because that's the fun part, right? And it's also, I see a lot of business owners, man, they're just like what you're saying, like they're so into today. It's like, I got orders, I got to fulfill them. And they're just like, and it's like, but are you kind of planning for some stuff in the future? Like, what do you got to do? Like, the market, how people are going to react. I mean, what products can you bring on? You always got to be going forward, Right. And one of my businesses, it's funny, I'll eventually have my guys on, but like I've got a few guys that are nervous, right? Because we're growing so fast, right? Even though it's a very traditional construction type business, right? It's like, how are we going to support this? And blah, 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 and kind of being the leader, just be like, I don't know, we'll figure it out, Right. It's like, they're just like, what the heck? And I even had one of them get with me one time. And he's like, hey, I'm real comfortable at like this level of business. And I'm like, that's cool. And I give him a big hug and, we blasted through that already this year.
Right.
But they kind of see the vision. But my point with that is you in business, you have to be moving up.
Right.
Staying the same is dying, right? And it's basically an inflationary principle, right? Because if you're staying the same, all your costs are moving up with you, right? So you just start squeezing margin out. So if you're not jumping up, you're just, you'll end up losing your business.
Right.
So
like you can't jump on the wave when it's already going. It's like you have to plan for the wave.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we rode the wave, and it's like now we're going to plan for the next one instead of trying to ride the one that technically is still going.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah. I think another big challenge I've been thinking about lately a lot is in an industry that does change this often. And it's a very futuristic industry, because I think this is all entrepreneurs, like you said. The good entrepreneurs are planning for the future, but because of that, I think it can be difficult to live in the present. It's like you've got the next deadline you're hitting, or you've got the next project you're working towards, or the next thing you're planning for. And I think that's been challenging for me. Is like, how do I find the balance between living in the present and smelling the roses along the way, but also being strategic and excited for the future? And I think that first year was really difficult. Until I was a little more intentional about it, of like, hey, I just have to be intentional about this. And
Right. Yeah, I mean, I love it. You just learn so much. And like even mine and Mike's relationship, we're partners. We deal with each other, and there's some things we don't agree on, there's some things we don't, but like I would go to death for Mike, and I'm pretty sure you'd say the same, because, like in a growing industry, and you have clients that have questions, and it's like there's a lot of stress out on top, but the most important thing I think you can do in business is to have somebody you trust. And
absolutely.
And
in marriage.
And in marriage, exactly. And I think that's really helped me, at the first, it's like, oh, I think this, or I think we should do things this way, but then it's like, even if it's not what I want or what I think, it's like I realize, like, as long as we're on the same page as partners, everything seems to flow.
Yeah.
And that's something that like we've really learned over the last year, and it's really helped us. Now we know what we want, we're on the same page, we know we're going forward. Like I really think, like you guys said, like everything's timing.
Yeah.
And so we're in a lot, and I might say the same thing in a year from now. I might say I've learned so much more in the last year, but
you will.
We will.
Yeah, you will. And you guys are, that's a great point to bring up, is a lot of people, they'll get into business, and some people are like fine doing it by themselves, right? And then some people are like kind of scared to do it by themselves, so they need like a friend or a buddy to do it with them, right? And, and sometimes those relationships blow up and you learn some stuff from them though, right? But when you get a good partner, like that is awesome,
right.
Yeah. And I think another point with you guys that, we've lightly touched on, or I guess we just said one thing, but like, you guys are looking at your business to exit it. I actually think it's a poor business strategy to look at your business and be like, I'm building a legacy business that will last forever. Yep. Most of the people I know that have made a lot of money get in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out, Like I don't want to pass a business to my kids.
Right.
I'll pass them some money and some assets. No, because and I took over a family business. That's one of the things that's crazy. I bought it from my parents, And but I look at it now and it's like, no, I'll exit this thing.
Right.
There's a time when I will exit this, because and even if you exit partly, right? Even if you take 80% of your equity off the table, then you take that cash and you diversify it into other different things or move into a different business, And
right.
like one of the things that drives me insane in my business is my market is tiny, it's less than $1 billion, and then you go into, then I look at other markets that are like in these massive markets, and it's like, freak, I dominate mine. If I dominated that market, I'd be on a private jet. You know what I mean? And it's like, in really business, I mean, it doesn't matter what you sell, you know? So, which is why I'm in private equity, because that is an unlimited market.
Right.
You know, we can get into all sorts of things, you know, but no, I think it's awesome. I think it's good for you guys to, I mean, we talked about it a lot during the negotiations, right? It's like, what point will we exit? You know, what dollar amount if we're offered a week on, you know? And those are things that have to be agreed upon between two partners,
right?
You know?
Yep.
So
one of my favorite, I guess, mantras when it comes to partnerships and trying to solve problems with you know, a business partner, whatever, is there's no right or wrong. There's what works and there's what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or I think people get kind of caught on, no, that's wrong, or this is right. And I think that's really a mantra for life, is there's no right and wrong. There's just, it's working for me, it's working in my life, or it's not working in my life.
Yeah.
And that's the question we have to ask with our business is, does it work or does it not work?
Mm-hmm.
Whether I believe it's right or wrong, that's actually irrelevant. What do the facts say, and does it work or does it not work?
Yeah.
You know, I know it's simple, but I think it's pretty profound, and it's helped us a lot over the last year when, you know, you come with an idea and I'm thinking one thing and Cody might be thinking another thing. At the end of the day, it's like, does it work or not? No, it doesn't work. Okay.
Well, that's
you
good.
know, I can swallow that ego and go, okay, never mind. You know, we're not doing that, you know.
Right.
Have you guys had a good fight yet?
Yeah.
We've had some battles.
Slam the door.
I would say we've never fought, but like, you know, the awkward tension in the air when you guys disagree, and it's like, you're just like,
and he turns his music up, you turn the rap up, he turns the country up.
Just like stare at my computer screen, just like, I don't know, staring out.
Take the stress ball to the side of the head.
Like an hour goes by, and then like, so where do you want to go for lunch? Like, that's the good thing about our relationship, is like, we don't hold anything. And I think it's healthy to, like, holding on to something is never helpful. You just hurt yourself, I think, more than anybody. But it's like, we forget very easily. With anything I disagreed with anything that's going on, it's like, we move on, we move forward. Yeah. You know, we trust each other, and that's what matters. And
that's great.
It's working for us.
It's smart too.
Yeah. And even if like the next in mind, it's like, okay, if there's another venture down the road, like, I know whether it's Mike as my partner, which I know I could be partnered with Mike, but it's like, I know what I need in a partner because this experience has really helped us. Yeah. So, you know, it's just, we've honestly learned so much. But like, you know, to build off what you're saying about like exiting, like we came across that, like, the realization how market is when to sell. And like you said, people that are getting in and out, it's because like there's a wave, they ride and they exit. And so we know, like, in the crypto industry, it's like, there'll be another wave. But it's as exciting as it might be and as profitable as it may be at the time, it's like, that's when you exit. Yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, but going back to, you know, partnerships, it's just, there's so much to learn from owning a business with a partner. Yeah. But it's been incredible the last year and a half. And Joe isn't here, our other partner. Yeah. But like, just,
it's a really good dynamic between the three of us. We're pretty different, all three of us, in our own ways, which I think is good. Yeah. I think if we were all the same, we'd drive each other crazy. Right. Yeah. Joe's very technical minded, very, you know, he just wants to sit in front of the computer and, you know, build, and it's what makes him so amazing, because me and Cody are not that way. And if we were, like, we probably wouldn't be here right now. We'd be scared to get on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to hire a CEO or something, you know what I mean? Because you're like, I don't do that. Right. One of the best things I've figured out is putting people in where they're really good. Right. You know? And so, like, my employees that are kind of in their positions, like, I'm like, today, you know, I'm really comfortable with everybody, and it's like, just let them fly in there. If they do two things, but they do it really, really well, that's awesome. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, you know, going to Joe, who I've actually never met. Now that I think about it, I don't think so.
Joe, he's a Nighthawk.
Is he? I think that's probably why. I know, I've heard of him. I know that he exists, but I don't think I've ever actually met him.
Joe and the team, they're just out data centers pretty much all day, every day. Just out working on rigs, and
that makes sense.
Doing what he's best at. So, right. Yeah. He's genius. Yeah.
So it's been, you know, thank you for letting us come on. We really appreciate it.
Oh no, absolutely, guys. I'm glad you guys have been here. You know,
it's been fun.
You're definitely one of my top 10. It's a fun thing to talk about. It's relevant, you know. Plus, I try to invest, and you know, it's like all this it's interesting stuff that kind of goes with the podcast.
I'm excited to listen back, because it's a fun story. Like, it is really interesting. Yeah, I'm glad that we have this recorded too, because it's like this is a big time in our life. So like, 5-10 years down the road, it'd be fun to listen back at how it went.
Oh, watch your kids listen to it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably 50% of me wanting to do a podcast is I'm just like, I've been away from my kids so much that, if I die in a car crash in 3 years, it's like, hey, here's 100 hours of your dad talking to his friends, people he knows, business associates,
right. Hearing stories, how things happen.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's why I'm self-sponsored in everything I do on here.
I love it.
And probably always will be, Yeah. So all right. So to finish up, best 2 minutes of advice from both of you.
Yeah. I guess I'll go start. I think my biggest thing, I thought a lot about this. What was my best advice? I think the biggest thing would be always assume the best. In relationships and partnerships, people aren't purposely trying to hurt you. People have justifications in their mind, but in the end, if you always assume the best and just try to see someone else's perspective, in the end, you'll get on the same page. I mean, you said don't talk politics. I'm not going to talk politics, but I think in the end of politics, people are like, hey, I assume that one party believes this reason for the well-being of everyone. We all are the underlying things, we all want the best for our families, for ourselves. And there's just different ways to get about it. But I think if we just assume the best and know everyone in the end wants what's best, it will really help us, move forward. And that's
Absolutely.
Really
yeah, thank you.
Great. Mine would be, I had a mentor, shout out Randy Garn, if anyone knows Randy Garn. He told me something profound once, and I think he's pretty famous for saying it, but it's do as much as you can for as many people as you can without expecting anything in return. And then I add at the end of that and watch the magic happen. Because it's I truly believe that if we serve and we try to impact and we truly try to help people without needing anything in return, I really believe that life just happens for us, and things fall into place. And I'm a big believer that what we give is what we get, and if you want more love out of life, then give more love, and if you want more money, give more money. And, I really believe that it's important to add value to people's lives and to truly try to love people and impact them. And I believe, I guess, whether it's karma or whatever you want to believe, I think life works out when you're taking care of other people.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, I'm kind of walking proof of that, the last 10, 15 years. I mean, I tell people I can go to bed every night. I never lie to people. I'm honest with people. I'll have hard conversations. And now that I'm a little more mature in my career and stuff, people just say hey, what should I do with this? Oh, I'll do this. Well, do it for me. I want to do it with you. Here's some money. You know what I mean?
Right.
That stuff happens all the time to me,
Right.
I've had people in my life, they've called me up and they wanted a whiteboard, right? And I'm like, just come get one, dude. I don't want to do the paperwork. I don't want any cash. It's just, I want to do a $50,000 contract. I don't want to do a $300 order.
Right.
And then these guys are just, after that, it's just man, how can I help you out?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. What do you do?
Right.
And they're telling me, and then it's if you know any of these contractors, tell them we're the best. And then, all of a sudden it's hey, one of my friends that paints houses told me that you're the best to deal with, and then it just, flows out from there. I mean, it's not only good advice, it's the truth.
It always comes back around.
Yeah.
Especially in the moment when you're not how can I get something? I'll give you something because I'm going to, pro quo.
Exactly.
No, but truly just no, you need it or no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's somehow, some way, I don't know. It always works out and comes back around. And
it's interesting that you always feel better in those moments too. It's you feel better about life yourself. It feels good.
Yeah.
And it's you not only do you feel good, but things tend to happen for you.
Yeah.
I truly believe
it's a secret.
We are supposed to get more, so we have more to give.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. It's just it's what has made me happy in my life. Anytime I'm trying to get, it's you're not happy. But when you truly want, so you can give. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, it's fun right now to hate capitalists, right? Capitalism, people who make money and these business owners. And I'm just who do you think donates to charity?
Right.
I've served on a lot of boards at UVU, right? And it's all that is to raise money, right? And it's some of the wealthiest people dumping tons of money into different things so that, young, people can experience things, or kids. And I mean, almost all charity comes from people who have made money. You can't give if you haven't made anything.
Right.
And we can get into class warfare all we want, kind of above that, because I'm just whatever. I don't care. I'll do whatever I want with my money. You know what I mean?
I was actually reading a quote the other day. It's got a lot of truth to it, but it was whoever said money can't buy happiness hasn't given enough away.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so true. It's
I've heard that from multiple people, and it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, and keep killing it, and we'll promote the crap out of your business.
Appreciate it,
man. It's just the beginning.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.